I really wish I knew what to expect. It would make our job a lot easier, I think. I just think that we, like you said, have a lot of inexperience. I think we're going to be inconsistent in the beginning of the season. Hopefully, in the course of those games, we'll get a few wins.
And for the 5th straight year, the Elizabeth Minutemen will be going to the finals.
But I just think it may take a little longer to put together the talent that we have.
Here come the Minutemen with live. The 1987-88 Elizabeth Minutemen exceeded everyone's expectations by not only being a strong contender, but a proven champion. Ben Candelino's squad hit the hardwood in November with aspirations of a winning season. But on March 12th at the Monmouth College Gymnasium, aspiration became realization, as the Minutemen proved they were the best in New Jersey Group 4. A championship team was molded from junior varsity and inexperienced players like Candelino and assistant Randy Westrall. This championship season was shared by everyone at Elizabeth High School. We'll take a look at this past year's 1987-88 Elizabeth Minutemen in just a moment.
Dejuan Watkins, I think, developed into an excellent point guard by the end of the season. Going into the basketball season, I felt that Dejuan was going to be the key to our success, and that I knew he would have to control tempo for us, run the fast break, and having an inexperienced team, especially at the point position, I thought could be a determining factor to our success and failure. I felt that in the beginning of the year, Dejuan struggled a little bit. He turned the ball over. Things didn't go as smoothly as he was accustomed to. He had an excellent season for us last year on a JV level where he scored points, ran the offense, played very good defense, and I really felt that he would be our point guard. And I think in the beginning he was a little frustrated. He injured his ankle early, and I think that set him back a little bit. But I think by the end of the season, Dejuan developed into the guard I thought he would be. Against Camden and against Patterson Kennedy, I think Dejuan had 3 turnovers in both games, 1 against Kennedy and 2 against Camden. And I think that's a direct result of why we played well, because we didn't turn the ball over. He handled the press, and he did the things that I had hoped he would do well in the beginning of the season, extremely well at the end. And I just think it was a maturity process. I think it was just developing and growing into the position, understanding it, and I was very pleased with the way he played at the end of the season. As a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to coaching him next year. I think he's going to be a pleasant surprise in the county. He didn't score a great deal of points this year, but I really believe next year not only will he be a leader in just handling our offense and defense, I also think he's going to be an offensive threat that he really wasn't this year and surprise some people.
Watkins saved his best performances for the end of the season as he quarterbacked the Minutemen offensive attack to a victory over Camden in the Group 4 final. The junior guard played in all 29 games for the Minutemen, while finishing the year as the team's 4th highest scorer.
Matt Coyle, I think, is a promising junior. I think Matt Coyle didn't play a great deal for us this season, but I think Matt Coyle has some excellent instincts on the basketball court. I think Matt's big strength is his ability to read what's going on in the court and to understand the game. I think he's very good at that. Matt was a very successful grammar school player.
Tortor, along with Matt Coyle and Joe Ferrara, will be back in '89 to help Elizabeth continue their basketball supremacy in Union County.
Joe Ferrara is probably the most natural shooter on our basketball team. Joe can shoot the ball as well as anybody I've ever coached. He is an intelligent player. He knows his role. I don't think there's a better shooter in Union County. Alex Tortor is an excellent defensive player. Alex plays every minute of the game hard. He practices hard every day. I think Alex right now, if anything, I would say his strong point is his defense. He'll step in, he'll get charges. He'll do things that this year's team really didn't do that much of. And by that I mean stepping in and taking a charge, taking baseline away, things that every coach says, your kids play excellent defense, but as a coach you see little things that sometimes are missing and that you have to cover up. Alex will do the little things well, and he'll be a good defensive player for us, and hopefully his offense will come around.
Depth is always a determining factor for a championship basketball team. This year's team had an abundance of players ready to fill the shoes of a starter.
Ron Williams, graduating senior. I think Ron Williams played in some important games for us this year and played well. And the game that I'm thinking about is especially the Linden game in the Watchung Conference Championship. I think Ron was sort of caught in a situation where he was the fourth guard and we played mostly three guards. He was behind PJ, he was behind Jimmy Davis and behind Raymond Graham, and even behind Michael Matero at times, depending on the situation. The teams played zone. And he was really our third point guard. I was very pleased with Ron Williams. I think if Ron Williams had possibly played at another school, Ron would have probably gotten a lot of playing time and been very successful. I'm especially appreciative to the fact that as a senior, he just accepted his role, and when the time came to play, he went out there and responded well and played well. I just wish at times that I had given him more playing time, but you know, it's almost impossible to play every kid on your basketball team as much as they would like to play and as much as you'd like to play.
Rod Williams was probably one of the most effective players coming off the bench for the Minutemen. His presence sparked the Minutemen in key situations during important games, while shooting for 81% from the foul line and 59% from the floor. Another senior for the Minutemen accepted the leadership role. Raymond Graham, a three-sport standout, seemed to always top his previous performance on the basketball court.
I think Raymond Graham, as far as a coach is concerned, there's an old cliche that, you know, a defensive player will always make your team and will always play. I think Raymond's a perfect example of that. I think his offensive ability, especially in the beginning of the season, you know, didn't even exist. There was nothing there. He wasn't a very good shooter. But I think Raymond's role on the basketball team was the stopper. You know, he played excellent defense for us. He normally covered the opposing team's best player, be it a forward or a guard. He had great games against some of the best players in the state. You know, Raymond just proves, I think, to everyone that there is a place on a basketball team for a defensive player.
The defensive stalwart for the Minutemen totaled 75 boards and 46 steals.
I think as the season went on, Raymond developed into a very good guard for us. He wasn't a great scorer, he wasn't a great shooter, but he didn't turn the basketball over. He had the ball against the press, and he hit the open man. He did the little things that you need without being able to score in order to be successful. You know, I think, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that he just showed, I think, a great deal of courage, determination. You know, you think of every adjective that you can in playing the last two games of the season against Patterson, Kennedy, and Camden. Any other player would not have even dressed for the Kennedy game. He lost 4 teeth on Tuesday and played, I guess, 28 minutes on Thursday. And it's just a tribute to his toughness and his courage and his desire to win, I guess, more than anything. And when you have a kid like that, that just has to rub off on the rest of the kids. And that was just a great example for the younger kids and the seniors, for everyone in our program to follow.
Graham's major contributions did not show in the stats, but were displayed on the court as the senior forward guard came up with his best performances in the clutch. Jimmy Davis, like Watkins, were the only two players to play in all 29 games for the Minutemen.
Jimmy Davis has a world of athletic ability. Jimmy Davis has a lot of talent. He is a basketball junkie. He loves to play. He plays the game every moment, every free moment he has. I think Jimmy Davis has talent that at times he just doesn't display. I think he displayed it in the Linden game, in the sectional finals.
His best performance against Linden in the North Jersey semifinals sparked the Minutemen for 17 points.
I think Jimmy Davis's ability is going to improve as he gets in college. I think he'll be a very good college basketball player. I think he gave us pretty much what I expected, especially at the end of the year. I think he began to understand what we wanted. Jimmy has just been so accustomed to playing in the playground and playing in pickup games and running gun games that it was difficult for him to adjust his basketball game to our style. And I think that hurt him. But in fairness to Jimmy, I think he had tried to adapt. And you know, I have to appreciate that as a coach. And I think as the season went on, he did get more comfortable with his role. He did come in and play some good games and gave us some quality minutes. And I think he showed that he does have some ability in that in college. I think Jimmy will develop into a very good basketball player.
On the other side of the coin, players who start the season off strong are considered valuable assets to any basketball team.
Michael's a junior who started for us early in the season, who had some very good basketball games for us in the beginning of the season. There were a few games he scored 15, 16 points. I think early in the year he was averaging in double figures. Then he got injured. He got sick. He missed a few games. And our football players, especially Marcus and Raymond, began to round into basketball shape, and Michael's playing time began to diminish. I think Michael next year is going to be an important part of our basketball team. This year he came in 7th, 8th man, depending on the situation. He's an excellent shooter. He just, I think, just needs a little bit more experience, a little bit more playing time, a little bit more confidence. And I think Michael and PJ next year could be two of the best guards in Union County.
Like Matero, Travis Burns was forced to play behind some quality players at the center position.
Travis Burns was a senior this season. He was in a difficult position of having to be a backup center to Luther and Alon Wright, and obviously did not get a great deal of playing time. But I think that when you have a successful season, it goes from your first man to your last man. Travis was an important part of our team. I think he served a purpose in that he was always ready to practice. He worked hard in practice, and he contributed in the sense that he made Alon and Luther work and made them better basketball players. And I'm sure if he had gotten the opportunity to play in important times, he probably would have performed for us. But again, it's something where you have 15 players, 16 players. It's impossible to play 16 players at quality time. And Travis just had the unfortunate task of being backups to both a 7-foot sophomore and a 6'9" senior.
Luther Wright was not pushed around by too many people. The 7-foot sophomore was a dominating force under the boards, averaging over 6 rebounds per game.
Luther's a promising sophomore who is just beginning to learn to play the game. He came here from St. Anthony's. He had no varsity experience, just a raw talent who just is going to get better and better as the days go by. Luther can be as good as he wants to be, I believe. I think if Luther works hard and develops some mental toughness towards the game of basketball, Luther could be an All-American. Defensively, I think he's very sound in that he blocks shots, he rebounds extremely well, he outlets the ball very well. If he has a problem defensively, it's with his lateral movement, but I wouldn't think that there would be a 7-footer in the country who wouldn't have that problem. I think the things that Luther does well right now are things that are very difficult to teach, defensively and offensively. He catches the ball, he has good hands, he has a soft touch around the basket. I think this year Luther began to improve as the season went on offensively because he began to understand the offense more. He realized that if he just made a certain move, it'd be easy to get him the basketball because it's difficult to defend a 7-footer. I feel that if he ever becomes hungry offensively, and by that I mean going to the ball and on the offensive boards, Luther is going to be an unbelievable force to reckon with, and I'm glad we have him.
What does an all-Union County football player going to a Division I college football program do for an encore? Well, just ask Marcus Badgett. Badgett finished the season as the second leading scorer for the Minutemen while gaining a spot on the all-county squad.
Marcus Badgett's probably the best athlete, not probably, is definitely the best overall athlete we have in our program. Marcus was an excellent football player for us. He's a very good basketball player, and he's also a very good track man. Marcus is super quick, had some phenomenal games for us both defensively and offensively. I think Marcus could have been a Division I basketball player, which he will not be, only because Marcus has decided that he's going to play football in college. I think if Marcus had ever just dedicated himself to playing basketball, I think Marcus could have been a heck of a basketball player. As it is, he was a very good basketball player. I think he's an excellent shooter. I think the one area most people felt we were weak at was outside shooting. And I knew, and I always felt all year, that Marcus Badgett was a very good outside shooter, and one of the best outside shooters I've ever coached. Problem was that he doesn't have the basketball mentality, a scorer's mentality, like a Corey Floyd, like a Hargrove from Patterson Kennedy. And I think that's because he's sort of spread himself in 3 sports. If he had just concentrated on basketball and decided that basketball was his sport, I'm sure that would have developed over the years, and he would have been an excellent scorer and an excellent basketball player for us. As it is, I'm very happy we had him. I think as the season again went on, everyone improved, but I think Marcus in the Camden games proved to a lot of people that he was a very good outside shooter. And I think in that game, if any, he just had the ball. We talked about it prior to the game that we needed his shooting, and when he caught the ball, he did not hesitate, and fortunately he had a very good game for us.
He also was named MVP in the state Group 4 final against Camden, scoring 21 points and leading the Minutemen to a number 2 ranking in the state.
I think he could have done that more for us this year, but I think it was an attitude type of thing, in that he was such an unselfish player that he was just happy we were winning and would do anything to win, and didn't really think that he was that kind of a scorer. But I'm glad he picked a Camden game to prove it.
Tyrone Billingsley concentrates on hoops next season. Once again, he'll be a contributing factor for another championship season in 1989.
Tyrone Billingsley, I think, is going to be an important part of our basketball team next season. I think this year he gave us quality minutes. Tyrone, at times, played center for us, and he's probably only about 6'1", but he uses his body extremely well. He also played the forward position for us when he came in for Alex Jones. I think Tyrone has an instinct around the basket, but that is very difficult to coach. I'm looking forward to coaching him next year, and to Tyrone having an excellent season for us. I think he's the type of player we need with a Luther Wright out there, because I think Tyrone will pick up the loose balls inside. He'll pick up a lot of garbage points, and I think he'll be an excellent player next season.
When you talk about dominating player on a basketball team, you have to think about scoring and rebounding. Alex Jones led Elizabeth in both these categories with 519 points and 243 total boards.
Alex Jones was a pleasure to coach. Alex Jones was in our program for 4 years. Alex is a gentleman. He's probably one of the nicest kids I've ever coached. I'm happy he had the type of season that he did. Coming into the season, Alex was the only player that came back with any varsity experience, and in that he probably was 8th man last year, possibly 9th man at times. He averaged 18.6 a game for us this season. I think Alex was a leader on offense and in the locker room. I think that Alex proved to a lot of people that he's a very good basketball player. I think coming into the season, not too many people knew who Alex Jones was. And he assumed a role for us that we really needed in the beginning, in that he scored and did a lot of things that the younger kids and the juniors and some of the other kids, seniors, who did not have any experience, needed him to do. And I think he really proved that he's one of the top players in Union County. I think Alex Jones, personally, and this may be a little biased on my part, had the best season out of anyone in Union County. I know there are a lot of people that will mention Corey Floyd, and justifiably so. He's a great player. And the kid Burks from Hillside, and I know Burks had more points than Alex Jones, but Alex has scored more points for us than any kid I have ever coached. Normally our scoring is very balanced. I think this year it was very balanced, but this year there was a big discrepancy between our leading scorer and our second scorer. And I think Alex Jones did that all in the scheme of our offense and defense. And to me, that's just a great accomplishment, because he did average 18 a game, but I guarantee you he didn't take 15 shots a game. I'm just very, very pleased with the season that Alex Jones had. I couldn't have asked for more from Alex Jones. And you know, I think he's going to be a very good basketball player no matter what division he decides on going, Division I or II. I think it'll be a difficult decision for Alex. I think he's a Division I athlete, but I think he would be more successful on a Division II level. I think he would play immediately on a Division II level, similar to some of the kids we had, and I think he may enjoy it a little bit more. Whichever level he goes, I'm sure he's going to be an excellent addition to any school or their basketball program because of the type of kid he is.
The Elizabeth front was even more effective with 6'9" senior Lon Wright. His presence on the court created great depth at the center position and gave the Minutemen a decisive height advantage over the opponent.
Alon Wright, I'm sure in many people's minds, was a disappointment, but not in mine. I think Alon Wright has improved 200% since the first time I've seen him. Alon came to us as a sophomore, and by us I mean to the basketball program, had never played basketball until his sophomore year. When he first walked out on the court, he could do very, very little, if anything. I think by his junior year, the end of his sophomore year, his junior year, he improved to the point where he could do drills, he could run certain things with us as far as practice was concerned, but wasn't ready to play. I think this past season, Alon has really improved in all areas. I think it's unfortunate that most people only see the basketball games and they don't see practice. I think Alon is very close to being a good basketball player, and I think Alon is going to be a very good Division I basketball player. I know some people don't agree with that, and I think that's because they only see the games and they don't see practice. But I really think Alon is to the point now where he's only a little bit away from being able to contribute on the basketball court. I think the decision he made to go to Old Dominion is an excellent choice because I think Tom Young down there has handled big men extremely well. I think he'll help Alon.
When we come back, Coach Ben Candelino gives his final thoughts on this past championship season.
I think the 1987-1988 basketball season went better than we could ever have expected. I think when you look back at it, I'm sure some people say, well, gee, they didn't win the Union County tournament. But I knew coming into the season that Linden was going to be a very good team, Roselle was going to be very good. I knew Union Catholic would be a team to contend with. Irvington in our conference had Robert George, who I think is one of the best guards in the state. So I knew it wasn't going to be an easy season, especially because we lacked experience. We graduated eight starters or 8 players from last year. So going into the season, we had a lot of question marks. I think the kids responded extremely well. I think the tradition that we've developed at Elizabeth High School has helped. I think the kids here understand basketball is important. I think it means something to them. I think they take pride in our program. I think there were games in the beginning of the season that we easily could have lost, that we did not because of that little extra togetherness, that little extra determination, and that goes well for the kids. That says a lot for them, for their character, and for their mental toughness. I think as the season went on, like all coaches, you like to see improvement. I think we did. I think we improved. I think that county tournament, we lost to Linden, and you know, I think Linden and Elizabeth, as the season went by, I think we showed that we were both equally matched. I don't think they were better than us. I don't think we were better than them. We played 4 games and we split. We were 2-2. So it just happens that we lost the county tournament and we won the Watchung Conference and state championships. You know, so I'm very pleased with that. I would have liked to have won the county, but I realized we lost to a good basketball team. And we have nothing to be ashamed of. I think the kids responded well. I think the kids played hard. I don't think we played extremely smart in that game, but I think that game taught us something. I think after the Linden game, I really believe that the Linden game was the turning point in our season. That's kind of late to have a turning point, but I really think it was. I think after that game, our kids could have easily have just quit on themselves and said, well, we lost the county tournament. There's really nothing else to shoot for. And I believe in Union County that happens a lot. I think our county tournament is so good and we play in front of great crowds that many times after the county tournament's over, win or lose, You have an emotional letdown. And I've said this before, and I've felt over the years, Union County teams have not done well in the state tournament because it's a letdown after the county tournament. You go to a gym and there may be 100 people there first 2 rounds of the state tournament. Then you go play in other gyms where they seat 1,000. And it really is, I think, psychologically a letdown. So I think after the Linden game, our kids really responded extremely well. I've said this before, and I mean it. After we lost to Linden on Saturday, we practiced on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We had 3 of the best practices that we had all year, and I knew our kids were ready. I knew we would play Linden again. I didn't know if we would win or lose. It was just that type of season with them this year. But I was just more confident and more positive going into the sectional finals because of their attitude and because of the practices we had and the things we were doing at practice. We did things at practice that we hadn't done all year, and I couldn't understand why. But I think it was the shock of losing a county tournament. Maybe there was a lot of pressure on the kids to win 5 in a row. I don't know. I hope if there was, that it wasn't because of me, because I was very satisfied with the way our teams have played over the years, and winning 5 in a row wasn't the ultimate goal. It's always a goal to win a county, but it wasn't the most devastating thing that happened to us losing in that game, and especially because of the way our kids rebounded and played in the state tournament. If we didn't play as well in the state tournament, we had lost our first, second round, then maybe it would have been a more devastating loss losing the county tournament. But our kids really showed a lot of character and really showed me a lot. And I've got to give credit to our seniors: Marcus Badgett, Alex Jones, Raymond Graham, Jimmy Davis, Ron Williams, Travis Burns, all of them for pulling together, because no matter what anybody says, it's seniors, especially on this team, where we didn't have the superstar junior or the leading scorer that was a junior. The seniors are the ones that really lead the way, and they did. And I think, it just grew and grew as it went on in the state, where by the end of the state tournament, people began to believe we were a very good basketball team. And there weren't too many people that said that all year. They said Elizabeth's lucky, they're winning close games, they're not blowing people out. But by the end of the year, I think anybody that saw us play our last 4 games especially realized that all of a sudden, gee, this team can play with anybody in the state. And we did, and we beat Camden, we beat Patterson-Kennedy, we beat Linden, and we beat 3 very good basketball teams. Sometimes it's easy to pull 1 upset, but it's usually difficult to pull 2. 3 is almost impossible. And I don't think we pulled 3 upsets. I think we just played 3 good basketball games with a good basketball team.
Candelino sees each team he has coached individually and has special admiration for this year's team.
I was asked a question by a couple of newspaper people how I felt in comparison to our 1985 championship, and I said this, and I'm sure some people probably misunderstood it, but maybe I can clarify it a little bit now. I really feel that you never forget your first championship. Like, I'll never forget our first Watchung Conference championship, our first Union County championship, or our first state championship in '85. In '85, people knew we could win and felt we should win. This year, not very many people gave us a chance of winning the county or the state, and I think we proved some people wrong in winning the state, and I think we proved that our kids were better basketball players than people gave them credit for.
Candelino is hesitant to take all the credit for this team's success and acknowledges assistant coaches with great pride.
Our success at Elizabeth High School goes directly to the staff that we've had here. I've had Randy Westro and John LaRocca ever since I've been at Elizabeth, which is 5 years. Randy was with me for a few years at St. Mary's and came here when I came here. Ray Gatlin, who's sort of an unpaid assistant, has been with us for 5 years and helps on our JV program. And I think the thing that has helped us over the years more than anything is the fact that our staff has stayed constant, has stayed the same, and we understand each other and we work well together. And if I leave Randy with a group of kids. I know he's doing exactly what I want, and it's as if I'm coaching. And the same thing on the JV level. John LaRocca has had a great deal of success. Our JV team in 5 years has won 3 county tournaments, and John has coached all 3 of them. So I think an important thing is the fact that we haven't had to change coaches. We've been together. We understand each other. Our programs, basically from freshman to JV to varsity, are very similar. Our freshman team this year was coached by Frank Casso and Phil Colicchio, and they did an excellent job. And kids go from freshman to JV to varsity doing almost the same exact thing. So when it comes to me coaching them, I pretty much just have to refine their talent and make them realize that it's at a higher level. I don't think there's a better staff in Union County, probably not a better staff in the state. I think they've proven that over the years, and their loyalty has been tremendous.
The entire city of Elizabeth shared a great year with the Minutemen, and Coach Candelino praises the Board of Education as well.
A great deal of our success also has to be attributed to the Elizabeth Board of Education and the support that they've given us over the years. I think there are board members that attend every game. They're very interested in the development of our student athletes, not only basketball or football or whatever sport, but I know that many of them, all of them I should say, are very concerned with the academic areas. And I think them coming to the game, some people would say, well, gee, they're just interested in athletics. I don't think so. I think just the opposite. I think that I know every board member in Elizabeth is interested in the academics. I think that they come here just to show to the kids that they mean a lot to them, to Elizabeth. And I think they give us a tremendous boost by coming to the games. And I'm sure our kids are aware of who's here. Mr. Parisi, Mr. Sicarel, Mr. Dunn at times, the assistant superintendent of schools, Mr. Patempa, Mrs. Davis. So I really think that the support they've given us just by their presence at a lot of the games has been a tremendous boost to all our athletic programs, but especially to our basketball program. And I think the kids greatly appreciate it.
Where the Minutemen of Elizabeth are holding an 18-point lead as Montgomery's going to go to the length of the court and slams it.
Nice battle showing his leaping ability, John.
Now the steal for Elizabeth on the drive. The shot is good, and a foul is called.
Irvington off the inbound. He shoots for Elizabeth. Simmons shot the ball for Elizabeth.
Third period, Wayne.
Floyd with the offensive foul. Good defensive play by Alex Jones for
Coach Ben Candelino very pleased with that one.
Right, not liking that call. Candelino still yelling at Bill Sima.
Can't lose the guard, or else a brawl could ensue.
Good. What do you think? You think they'll elect me mayor now or something?
Words couldn't express it.